Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be having a look at another deck that's gone and won a tournament in Japan. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The lovely Code64 over on Twitter has been nice enough to send me a couple of lists. And some of these are standing out more than others. The one I want to have a look at today is a list that's going to won a League Cup over in Japan. And it's all based around cards that, to be completely blunt, are not always cards that we're expecting to actually be particularly amazing. One of the themes on this channel lately has been that there's a whole bunch of bad cards out there which are bad and we shouldn't play that actually turn out to be good and then they start doing well. And certainly since Lost Thunder, or the sets in Japan that constitute Lost Thunder over here, has been legal for tournament play, we have seen some weird decks going and winning bunch of tournaments in Japan. So I thought we'd have a look at one today. And what's really weird is that this is another deck focused around Naganadel. Ladies and gentlemen, this Naganadel, the one coming in Lost Thunder, is kind of moving into over-the-top good territory, and it's not even been released yet. We have seen it played in a whole bunch of decks, including with Blacephalon as an example, and it just keeps getting better and better. So this Naganadel has got an ability whereby once during your turn you may grab an energy from your discard pile and attach it to Naganadel. Kind of like Malamar, but for any energy, and it can only be attached to Naganadel. Okay. And when I first reviewed the card, I said, wow, that sounds alright. And the more time goes by, the more it turns out that actually this is ridiculously over-the-top, stupid good. Okay, I think I made my point on that one. And actually, I'm only talking about the ability here, but the attack is really nice as well. 3 colorless energy, so you can use it in whichever deck you like. 80 damage if you've got 3 prize cards remaining, 160. Well, if you've got 3 prize cards remaining, you whack a choice band on there, you do 190. That's a lot of damage, yay! Although this deck is not playing choice band, so that's a moot point. But essentially, it's just really good here in terms of hitting for weakness on something like Buzzwole. Again, you don't necessarily need it here. This isn't a deck that's playing choice band, but I'm just saying that it is here as a decent attacker against a bunch of decks. But your main attacker here is Turtonator, the one from Dragon Majesty, the one that has just seen basically no play at all. And oh yeah, it turns out now it's actually really good because of Naganadel. And again, this was a card that everybody thought was bad. WTF, Ross, you're basically saying that Turtonator is actually better than Zygarde. Zygarde is easy to get going and spam the second attack since you don't have to discard. Well, yeah, actually, this is better than Zygarde. And now it's been proven it's going to win a tournament in Japan. So, what does this bad boy actually do? Well, bearing in mind, it's a dragon card, so it's not actually hitting anything for weakness here. 3 fire energy, 50 damage, discard any amount of fire energy from your Pokemon. This attack does 50 damage for each card you discarded in this way. Well, you get free energy on Turtonator, and then all you need to do here is just get the energy on Naganadel. Discard the energy from Naganadel, sit there laughing because you're doing an absurd amount of damage and getting a one-hit KO on anything. It's pretty straightforward in that way. And there's only one other attacker that you're even playing in this deck. It's Shining Ho-Oh. And Shining Ho-Oh is not some kind of powerhouse card. It's not one that people talk about in glowing terms. But the ability says, if this Pokemon is your active and is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, move up to 2 basic energy cards from this Pokemon to your bench Pokemon in any way that you like. Because the thing about this deck, and it is a huge, significant, very bad thing about this deck, Naganadel only accelerates energy to Naganadel. Turtonator has no inherent energy acceleration. Turtonator takes free energy and has 110 HP. So you are going to run into trouble in this deck when Turtonator gets KO'd and you don't have the energy. We'll talk about how we deal with the energy in a moment. I will get to that. So really here it's just an attacker that you can have and you're like, you know what? When it goes down, at least we can get the energy onto Turtonator. And as for the attack here, 110 damage for 4 energy, discarded energy. Look, it's fine, it's not stunning, it's fine. And it is a fire Pokemon, so if you do find yourself hitting for weakness, maybe against something like a stack attacker, then you can get a one-hit KO, which is nice. And in terms of other Pokemon here, we've literally just got two Tapu Lele, but it's just one extra Pokemon. It's Tapu Lele, it gets your supporters. What supporter does it get? Clearly it's Kiawe here. Like so many fire decks at the moment, this all runs through Kiawe. Kiawe is the goal of this particular deck. Turn 1 Kiawe, hence why we're going Tapu Lele here, and you get the energy. And actually, early game, unless you're facing down on a Alolan Muck, which will turn off the ability of Ho-Oh, although it's the only thing that will, I'm not counting slacking. In some videos, right, I'm not going to mention slacking, and it's not because I've forgotten about slacking, it's because I thought about slacking and then went, oh wait, literally nobody's playing that. Over in Japan, where they're making the weirdest decks win tournament at the moment, nobody's playing it. So if I ever don't mention slacking, I've not forgotten about it, I'm actively ignoring it because I don't think it's good. So unless Alolan Muck comes out, you start attacking with Ho-Oh, you do 110, 110, 110, 110, it gets KO'd, you pop 2 energy from that onto a Turtonator, you add a 3rd energy onto Turtonator, and then you're off and rolling. Because you see, Kiawe's your only real energy acceleration here, and that's upsetting. The good news is we do have Wishful Baton here, and that is very important. Wishful Baton is a huge card. If it's attached to a Pokemon that's active, and that's knocked out by damage from an attack, you get to take 3 basic energy from that Pokemon and put it onto one of your bench. If you can have this attached to a Turtonator when it goes down, you can then move that energy onto another Turtonator and you're off and rolling. If you don't, then it's really awkward. You have to use something like a Kiawe. Kiawe ends your turn, right? It attaches 4 energy from your deck to one of your Pokemon, but it then ends your turn. So to be perfectly blunt, if you're having to rely on Kiawe after turn 1, it's a bad game. What you really want here is turn 1 Kiawe onto a Ho-Oh. When Ho-Oh goes down, that sets up your first Turtonator, and then Wishful Baton runs from there. But if you ever find yourself on a turn without a Turtonator, there's nothing to stop you just attacking with Naganadel. And yes, you can put a Wishful Baton on Naganadel, and then when Naganadel goes down, you've got a Turtonator ready to go. Remember that this is a deck that relies on discarding energy, so you need to keep the energy on the field. As for the rest of the deck is purely built to get energy in a discard for Naganadel and get set up. So you've got 1 Heat Factory Prism Star, lets you discard 1 fire energy from your hand and draw 3. It's literally Scorched Earth, but it gets you 1 extra card. It's a must play in fire decks. We've got Ultra Ball, which is your Pokemon search, and obviously you can discard cards from your hand, discard 2, search for a Pokemon. Good for getting fire energy in the discard. And then Mysterious Treasure, which discards 1 card and search for any dragon or psychic Pokemon. So basically, literally anything in your deck but Shining Ho-Oh, which is why you play 4 Ultra Ball, 4 Mysterious Treasure. That sounds like you're going to get set up here. In terms of your supporter line, obviously we've got Kiawe, like we've mentioned. Obviously we've got Guzma to drag Pokemon off the bench. We play a Cynthia here. It's good draw, but it's not necessarily needed. We play Judge, which is more for disruption here. Remember, if your opponent drops a Field Blower, that's bad news bears. So being able to drop a Judge, making it less likely your opponent has a Field Blower, this is a very, very, very good thing indeed. The main card in terms of draw supporter we see here is Lily. It's seeing a huge amount of play in Japan at the moment. Draw till you've got 6 cards in hand. But bearing in mind, you're playing lots of stuff like Ultra Ball and Mysterious Treasure, you're often going to have few cards in hand. This is a deck where it really makes sense to play Lily. And then we see more Sightseer. Sightseer is popping up in like every deck I'm showing you from Japan at the moment. It's a card that we really didn't see as going to be amazing, and then actually it turned out that it was just kind of over the top great. You get to draw until you got 5 cards in hand, but before drawing, you get to discard as many cards from your hand as you like. Yeah, decent draw power, but also it lets you discard fire energy so you can then go grab it with Naganadel. Although don't sleep on Sightseer here, where you can just go, I've got a terrible hand, and basically use it like a Professor Sycamore, but you only get 5 cards rather than 7. Not perfect, but in an emergency, it'll do. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the deck. Oh, other than a couple of Field Blower to get rid of your opponent's tools, and a couple of switches because, you know, sometimes you need to get your Pokemon out the active. I mean, Naganadel doesn't have the nicest retreat cost. Turtonator doesn't have the nicest retreat cost. Switch is needed. Oh, yeah. And 1 copy of Rescue Stretcher to recover any Pokemon you may have otherwise discarded. This is a fun deck. This is a good deck. I worry about getting energy on the field and keeping it. You're kind of relying on Kiawe and Wishful Baton that are not the most reliable cards. I don't think this is going to be a deck which wins a huge amount of tournaments just for that pure reason, but I still very much think it's a good deck, a fun deck, and when a card like Turtonator, which has been pretty much ignored, comes out and wins tournaments, oh, that makes me happy, ladies and gentlemen. That makes me happy. But does it make you happy? Please let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, but do remember the rule. Be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, all of that malarkey, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.